him, so I had to left him behind with his father. I remember the day when I was leaving him. It was such an emotional moment. It was such an emotional day when he was sleeping and I covered him up. I was going through so much. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So yes, this is another video, where I'm just sharing some of my real life experiences, some of the things that I've been through, just for you to get to know me more. And just because I just want to share it, I just feel the need to just come and share some of my stories. Everything is just off the top of my head. I've not written down anything because guess what? I remember most of what I've been through so clearly. It's just I'm reminded every day of everything that I go through, and everything that I'm still going through. This world is not perfect, and we're prone to struggles and a lot of things. But before I get into the video, I just want to say thank you guys for supporting. Thank you for watching. If you have not already subscribed, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Turn on your post notification, because I promise, as much as I can, for the rest of the year, I'm going to be posting a video every week. One video every week. Stay consistent. I have so much information. I've been doing a lot of research. I've been so many things that I could come here and talk to you guys about. That I'm gonna be just using this platform to just share. Yes. So if you guys have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel. Click the red subscribe button below, and I'm just gonna be telling you guys some of the things that I've been through. If you have not watched any of my previous video, you could go ahead. They are mostly continuations of what I'm saying. I'm just continuing. I'm just telling you. I'm just pouring out. I'm just telling you some things. Some of these things were never told, and what I'm gonna say now, some of these stories, no one knows. Because these were things that I was going through personally, and I had to fight through. And the struggles that I just know that I just had to go through them. There's no way out of your struggles unless you go through them. Best believe that there's no way out unless you go through them. And I had to go through them to get out of them, at the time. But yes, let's get right into the video. So in 2000 and was it 2009, back then, when I got recommitted, when I recommit my life to the Lord. I did tell that story in the previous video where I got baptized again. And I was going through so much things. I had my first son when I was 19 years old. 19 years old. I was very young. I had just graduated from school. I haven't even got a job, because I graduated from school late, because I went to school late, and because of what had happened to us. Now, when I was 9 years old, it pushed me back, and there's so many setbacks that we had. And so because of that, I had to repeat a grade, and then I went to school late. Naturally, when I was younger growing up, I don't know why, but because my birthday is in November, so I guess my parents sent me to school after that year, the following year, so it pushed me back. So I left school late when I was 18 going on 19. I graduated from school and I had my first son, and all hell break loose. Let me tell you, all hell break loose. I've been through so much, so many things, man. I don't even know where to begin. It's a lot. But I remember when I had to leave my parents' house, and again I became homeless again. For once again, I didn't have anywhere to lay my head. I was all over the place, running up and down, trying to find a job and try to survive, because I was pregnant with a child, and his father was around. Of course, he was, thank God. Not of course, but thank God. but it was still struggling. My parents were disappointed, because they know that I have potential and there's so much greatness that is buried inside me, and they knew that wasn't, you know, that wasn't the plan so early at that time, and I did feel disappointed to myself, but I didn't understand. I couldn't understand all of what was happening to me. There were so many things that was happening to me that I didn't even understand, because I was like, I didn't want this for my life, but I was young, and as I said, there was a lot of things that just wasn't explained to me. A lot of things that I knew now, no, I've learned them on my own. Because I read a lot. I love to read, and I dive into things that I need to know, to be aware of. And back then I didn't know, but I went through a lot of things, and my parents were very upset, disappointed, upset. But I went through a lot of things with family. Right? Let me say this. My family, some of my families, I'm not going to. I've been through a lot with them too. I was young, but I realized that a lot of my family members, they never liked me. Let me say that. I ain't afraid to say, because I was young and we didn't have a choice, because we didn't have anywhere to live and everything, but they didn't like me. And after I grew up and I became an adult, I realized why they never liked me, because I was full of greatness and potential. I had so much in me. You don't even know. You have to know me to know and to understand that I was born to be great. And I didn't understand it after a long time. I understand, and I realized that why they didn't like me. I was a child. I was innocent. I never did anything bad to anybody, but why just they didn't like me? And that is life in general. Like, you're gonna have a lot of people that just doesn't like you for no reason, and I get that all the times, that people just don't like. But I've learned how to deal with that, of course, because I'm grown now. But back then they didn't like me, and I didn't understand. I was saying, like, why? I was never their favorite. I was always talked about. I was always picked on by my own family members. I was always, everything I do was always wrong. I would never did anything right as a child growing up. Never. And let me tell you, I knew when I got pregnant at that age, I knew they that didn't like me were glad, because it said they were glad, because they said, okay, yeah. So now your dreams are shattered. Now you won't become the person that you wanted to become, or that God wants you to become, because this is going to be your setback. But anyways, fast forward. I went through a lot, and I fight through it. I fight through everything. I remember I had to cry. I remember there were days when I had no food to eat. There are things, a lot of these things even my family knew about, because I wasn't living with them. I was living with my son's father, mother, in the country at that time. That was in the early 2007, right? And I remember I went through a lot with them too, because families are, then nothing beats when you have your own, and when you can provide for yourself and do things for yourself, because people gonna always think that you're depending on them, and they're gonna it's just natural, they're just going to get tired of you. And I went through a lot. I struggled. I remember there were days when I couldn't find anything to give my son to eat. His father was around, but his father was, it was so hard on him, it was hard on me. I went through abuse, physical and verbal abuse. So much. So many things that I've been through. Physical, verbal abuse. I remember there were days when I didn't have anything to give him to eat, and I was hungry and I was breastfeeding. I remember there were days when I had to let him survive, and I had to put his survival over me. I had to make that choice. I remember there were days when I had to feed him, I had to breastfeed him, knowing that he's hungry and I'm hungry too, and my stomach is empty. And it's so much, it was just so much. I never had any food. I never had a job, because where I was living, there was no job. You can't get no job there. I remember I used to always ask around for job, and I just couldn't get anything. I just couldn't get anything. It was so hard, it was so rough, and I struggled through verbal abuse, physical abuse. I didn't have anything to eat. But let me tell you something. I am glad that I know how to pray more now than then, but then I knew the basics of prayer, fasting. I remember there was one specific day when I didn't have anything to eat at all and didn't know how I was going to survive. I remember I said to God that, God, I don't have anything to eat today, but I'm going to take the day and I'm just going to make use of the day and go on fasting. I was very young at the time. I didn't understand much about fasting and those things, but I just knew that you're just not gonna eat and you're just gonna pray and read your Bible and just talk to God, and that's what I did. I remember that I have my friends and my brothers, I have to call them when I was so hungry and nothing, I had nothing, and I was in the country and I had to call them to send money to me, and they used to put it in envelopes and send it to the post office. And that time, I remember one of my friends sent me 1,500 Jamaican dollars at the time, which was nothing. No, it's nothing, but then it meant a lot, and that's like, let me see, $10. Let's say that is about $10 US. No, let's just an estimate. That's about $10 US. No, right? I'll have to calculate it, but it's about that now. And she sent it to me, and I was grateful. Imagine, because I didn't have anything, and when you get that, you realize that it meant it better you have $10 than if you don't have anything at all. It meant a lot at that time. I remember my brother, used to send me like $1,000 just to stay, which is like $5 or so, at the time. And I had to use it to buy food, and I had to use it to buy Pampers, and I still had to pay taxi fare out of it. It was really hard. That was right after I graduated from school. These things, I never told these stories. I think I may have told maybe one and two of my friends, but I can't remember. But these things, I went through them, I kept them, and I just, I put them behind me, but I never forget. And I struggled so much. I remember one time my auntie, she passes away, as I talk about her in my previous video about the kind of woman that she was and how God spoke to me regarding the mantle that he had passed down to me. If you want to see that video, I can link the video, and you can just go ahead and just check that out. All right, I'll link it in the iCard. Right, so I remember she called me one day and she said, I want you to come, I'm gonna let you come back to Montego Bay, right? Because I'm from Montego Bay, Jamaica. And she said, I want you to come back, and I'm gonna let you start something, go to a school, get a skill and start something. And it was so hard because at the time I couldn't carry my son with me, and me and his father weren't getting along, and I couldn't take him with me because I didn't even know how I was gonna make it, because my life has just been pushed back, and I was just, it's like I was coming to a new place, which was not actually a new place, but I was coming back to start something new, and I just couldn't take him. But I did made up my mind that I was going to take him. It doesn't matter. We're going to figure it out. I said, we're going to figure it out. I'm more smart and I'm more knowledgeable now, but back then I just knew that I would have had to figure it out. But his father wouldn't allow me to take him. His father didn't allow me to take him, so I had to left him behind with his father. I remember the day when I was leaving him. It was such an emotional moment. It was such an emotional day when he was sleeping and I covered him up. I was going through so much, man. It was just so much. He was sleeping. I remember that I packed all my stuff and he was sleeping, and I covered him up and I left him. But then I promised that I would go back. He's here with me now while I'm making the video, so a lot of things have changed. But yeah, I remember I left him. He's so grown now, mature, smart and everything. But I remember when I left him that day, it was so emotional, but I had to, because I had to move on. I had to make a choice, and that choice was supposed to benefit me and him. And I left him covered up under the sheet, and I walk away, and I took my bag and I take the bus and I came back. And I said, I told his father too. His father was there with him, but I left him. He was sleeping. I will never forget. But I promised him that I would have come back. I was just going to come here and just work and then come back and stay with them. But when I came back here, I realized that when I came back to Montego Bay, I realized that I just couldn't go back. I just couldn't go back to living that life. I couldn't. It was so hard, and I stayed and I struggled and I went through so much after that. But every week I would go to visit him and I would bring food for him and everything. And his grandmother, which is his mother, took care of him. She passes away also. You know, I said that I've lost so many dear people to my heart, you know, throughout the years. But she took care of him because she had loved him so much. She loved him so much, and that was something that was good for me, you know. And I used to go back every week to buy food for him, to visit him, to see him, to continue to maintain that bond between me and him, because I love my son to my heart, you know. And I keep going back every time, and you know. And then I started a training school, and then I got a training job, and then it was just so hard at that time. And then, you know, things just starts to happen right after that. But I remember when I was going through all of that, right? I remember I said to God one day that I said, God, if I have to continue to go through this that I'm going through, then it just wouldn't make sense. You know, it wouldn't make sense, because I'm struggling so much and I'm not seeing. It's like I was in a dark place, you know. I was in I couldn't see, you know. I couldn't see my way out, you know. But let me tell you something that I used to always do while I was going through what I was going through. As I said, I've known God for a very long time, but I used to write a lot of prayer requests and I used to post them in the mail, because I used to listen to the radio and I used to watch TV. If I did have TV back then, you know. I used to watch TV, and I used to always get the email at the mailing address for the pastors, and I used to write them. I used to send them overseas. I used to send them to Kingston. Anywhere they gave the address, I used to write, and I used to tell what I'm going through. I used to say, I need prayer. I need to get out of this. I need this to happen, this to happen. I used to do that a lot, you know. And I used to do that a lot. So and that helps me, you know. God heard my cry, and even though it took me a very long time, and I'm still going through struggles, my life is not perfect, you know. But I'm not where I used to be. Because of his grace and mercy. But I used to pray a lot, even though I was going through what I was going through, and I used to write prayer requests and I asked pastors to pray for me and so on and stuff like that. But yes, I'm gonna end this video now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna continue because I have so many more stories that I want to share with you. So I'm gonna continue, and I hope you guys stick around. As I said, engage with me, like the video, tell me about some of your stories and your struggles. Maybe you have similar experiences that you want to share. Just go ahead and drop them down below in the comment section. And please do not forget to subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for the next video.